guys and gals. So this is part 2 of chapter 5 of Three Golden Hairs, A Tale Dark and Grim by Adam Gidwitz. So let's get started. The Lord thought back to the gambling stranger, to his reddish skin and his pointed beard and his strange wager. Knowledge smacked the Lord over the head like a tray of sausages. He scattered and fell to the ground. Hansel rushed to his side. Gambling, the Lord said. Are you all right? Hansel asked. The Lord's face was pale, and his eyes stared up into the ceiling blankly. I was gambling with the devil. The next morning, they waited for the devil to come and collect his due. The Lord wrung his hands and apologized to Hansel over and over, as the lady buried her face in her kerchief and wept. But Hansel just stood there, nervous and numb. It was too strange, too incredible to believe. He had been gambling away to the devil. What did that mean? What would he have to do? He wouldn't have to do anything, of course. If you are gambling away to the devil, and this is a matter of public accord, I'm certainly not making it up. If you are damned to obstinately pain for all eternity, and no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, or how many times you ask, please, pretty please, with a cherry on top, the devil will never, ever, ever let you out. It is excruciating pain from the moment you arrive to hell until the moment after eternity. But Hansel did not know that, for which the moment was probably best. After a time, the devil arrived at the manor. He wore a walking coat and carried a cane and had tiny spectacles that sat the branches of a comfortable-looking tree. When from a distance he heard sound of someone crying, he followed the sound to the foot of a great elm, where he found a boy cradling his head in his hands. The old man felt pity for the poor boy, so he comforted him and asked him if he needed help. No one can help me, the boy moaned. I must travel to the gates of hell in 3 days' time and deliver myself to the devil, to be in excruciating pain until the moment after eternity. Hansel, the old man said. The boy looked up. How do you know my name? For a moment the old man said nothing. He stared at the boy's head of curly black hair and brown eyes, dark as charcoal. Then he said, Never mind, I thought you were someone else. He sat down beside Hansel gingerly and frowned. So he said you must go to hell? Hansel sniffed hard, wiped the tears from his face with the back of his sleeve, and began to tell the old man why. When he finished, the man stared at him intently. It's not a lost cause, my boy, nearly, but not completely. He stopped. Yes, Hansel asked. Well, the old man said, it is said that the devil can have no power over one who has 3 of his golden hairs. Hansel thought back to the bespectacled devil with a thin strand of gold on his head. But how would you get them? Hansel asked. That I have no idea, but I can take you to the gates of hell. I know where those are, and I can guide you back if you ever come out. That's very kind of you, Hansel said, staring into the man's unlovely face. And then he said, But now you can tell me how you knew my name. The old man didn't answer. Instead, he slowly got to his feet and began to walk. After he had gone a little way, he turned and saw that Hansel was sitting on the ground under the great elm. Well, the old man said, do you want to go to hell or not? They journeyed all day until when the sun was low in the sky. They came to a small city ringed by walls of stone. The old man asked the guard if he and Hansel could stay within the city walls for the night. No one stays in the city walls, said the guard, for our fountain of wine no longer flows, and we are all in mourning. And he told them of a magical fountain that had once given wine without cease until one day it didn't. Devil knows why, the soldier said, throwing up his hands. The old man was about to turn away from the city gate when Hansel said, I'm going to see the devil in hell. Perhaps I can ask him why, and if ever I escape, I will come back and tell you. The soldier scratched his head. I didn't mean the devil literally knows why. It's an expression. It is, Hansel replied. Oh, what does it mean? It means, the soldier began, but stopped. Wait, are you really going to hell? Hansel nodded, and so did the old man. The guard stared at the little boy. Never mind, just come in. The next day, the old man and Hansel walked until the sun was low in the sky, and then again found themselves at the gate of city walls with walls of stone. Again the old man asked the guard if he and Hansel could stay, but the guard said no. No one stays in the city, for a tree of golden apples is now barren, and we are all in mourning. And he told them of a magical tree that had once given golden apples without cease, until one day it didn't. Devil knows why, the soldier said, throwing up his hands. So Hansel said, I'm going to see the devil in hell. Perhaps I can ask him why, and if I escape, I will come back and tell you. The soldier scratched his head. I didn't mean the devil literally knows why. It's an expression. People keep saying that, Hansel replied. What does it mean? It means, the soldier began, but stopped. Wait, are you really going to hell? Hansel nodded, and so did the old man. The guard stared at the little boy. Never mind, just come in. On the third day, the man and Hansel walked until when the sun was low in the sky. They came to a river that could only be crossed by ferry. The ferryman refused to take them over. I've been in the ferry for 7 years, and I can't get out, the ferryman said. I'm sick to death of it. My arms are exhausted. I haven't slept well in ages, and you don't ever want to hear about going to the bathroom. Why can't you get out? The old man asked. Devil knows why, the ferryman said, throwing up his hands. So Hansel said, I'm going to see the devil in hell. Perhaps I can ask him why, and if I ever escape, I will come back and tell you. I didn't mean the devil literally. Wait, did you say you're going to hell? The ferryman asked. But why? The devil knows, Hansel replied. The ferryman scratched his head at that, but he said, well, if you promise to come back and tell me why I'm stuck here, I'd be happy to take you over. And so he did. At last, as the sun was disappearing beyond the edge of the horizon on the third day, the old man and Hansel arrived at the tall black doors of hell. Hansel's knees began to knock gently against each other. The doors to hell led directly underground, and there was no handle or knocker. They were just smooth and black, like eternity. Be brave, said the old man, and get those 3 golden hairs. Hansel said, I will, but he wasn't sure he believed it. Hansel's hands was trembling so badly it took him 3 tries just to knock on the great doors. But as soon as his knuckles hit them, they swung open, and 2 pairs of long red arms grabbed him and thrust him inside. The door slammed shut behind him. Faithful, Joan sat down on the ground to wait. He wondered how long eternity was. Hansel stood just inside Hell's doors, staring all around him. He wasn't in what looked like a cave. It had a low, heavy ceiling hung with long spires of rock. Down these spires dripped a red liquid that looked for all the world like blood. Though there was a ceiling, there was no walls. Hansel could see forever in every direction. 1,000 paths stretched out from where he stood. Paths that wound past millions upon millions of craters of bubbling, boiling, liquid fire. In each crater, a sinner screamed as red-armed demons drove him under the liquid fire surface. The sinners kicked and struggled as they were held below. Sometimes the demons would allow them to rise, and the sinners would scream and cry and say that they were sorry, and please let them out. Please, pretty please, with the cherry on top, and then the demons would push them down again to suffocate and be burned. Look fun, said one of the Hansel's 2 demon guides. Then he led Hansel between his pits of fire over a path that glowed like embers. The soles of Hansel's feet began to scorch, and he hopped from foot to foot and winced. But far worse than the pain in his feet was the chorus of screaming sinners bursting forth from pits and being shoved back down again, like hellish jack-in-the-boxes. As they passed one crater, a heavy-set woman burst from beneath the bubbling fire and screamed, "Oh, pretty please stop!" Hansel stared at her. It was the baker woman. She saw him too. "Hansel," she cried, I'm sorry. Tell them to stop. Please tell them to stop. Please, pretty please." A demon with a pitchfork shoved her back under the surface of the boiling fire. Hansel slowed beside the pit. He hated the baker woman. She was bad. He was glad she was being punished for what she'd done to them, to all the children she must have eaten before they met her. Yes, he thought as he watched her bob to the surface again, scream, and then plunge back into the torture below. Yes, punish her. But when she came back up again, he saw the fear in her face, and the remorse, and the pleading. She deserved to be punished, but not like this, and not for eternity. "Would you please stop?" Hansel said. The demon with the pitchfork turned to Hansel. "What?" he hissed. Hansel swallowed hard. He held his head high. He stared straight into the demon's eyes. "Please," he said. "I've forgiven her. Stop punishing her now." For a moment the demon looked paralyzed. Then he glanced at Hansel's demon guides. The corners of his mouth broke into a smile, and he said, "Nice try, kid, but it doesn't work like that." The 2 demons laughed and pushed Hansel on. His eyes scanned the pits, looking for empty one that he knew. Somewhere awaited him. Up ahead he noticed someone in one of the pits for some reason caught his attention. It was a young man with black hair and striking green eyes. He wailed and howled each time his face rose above the boiling pit. Hansel looked away. Finally, they arrived at an empty one. Hansel stood at the edge, looking down on the boiling fire, rimmed with black jagged rock. Have you ever stood at the edge of water, known that it was going to be really, really cold, and you knew you had to go in, but you really, really, really didn't want to? Well, this was kind of like that, but liquid fire instead. Hansel clenched his lips and clasped his sweaty hands together. He closed his eyes. Behind him, he heard the demons chuckling, and then, before they could push him or kick him or strike him with the pitchfork, Hansel jumped in. Pain, greater pain than he could ever have imagined, burned so terribly and unnatural that every inch of Hansel's body screamed to get out of fire. He began to get frantically, struggled to get to the surface. Finally he rose above the flames, and there was a split-second of relief, as if perhaps the pain was coming to an end. But instantly he felt the sting of pitchforks on his neck and his face, thrusting him back under. He went down again and burned, and the burn was worse this time for having felt, just for an instant, the sweet, cooling relief of the surface. Once more Hansel struggled up and clear of the flames. He was just about to lose the most long-cracked scream he had ever produced when he heard one of the demons say, "Give him a minute this time. I'd like to hear them scream." Just as the sound pushed Hansel's throat over his tongue, he clamped his lips shut. He looked into the demon's narrow, stupid, vicious eyes, and he thought, "For you, I won't." After a moment of the sweetest relief imaginable, they pushed him under again, and he was certain his skin was burning off. He kicked up to the surface. The demons looked at him expectantly, but instead of screaming, Hansel concentrated on the howls of the other sufferers. "I'm sorry. I hate myself for what I did. If only I had been good." "Why isn't this one screaming?" the demon said as they shoved him back under the liquid fire. While he was under again, he realized that, while this was terrible, it wasn't as terrible as those other sleepless nights when he had felt so guilty about abandoning Gretel. At least this was just not pain, and not shame and guilt. This was not his fault. He rose to the surface again, and he smiled at the demons. "This one, defective," the demon shrieked, and they pushed him back under. Down and back up, and Hansel smiled. Down and back up, and Hansel smiled. Down and back up, and the demons were pulling him out of the pit. "What's wrong with this one of them said, and poked him with his pitchfork. Hansel winced, but did not make the sound. "Better take him to the devil himself," the other demon said. "Sees what's to be done." So they took him down another burning path. Hansel's brief sense of triumph was swallowed like a coin slipping into the great, dark maw of a well, the devil himself. Soon they came to a place where the pits of fire ended, and there began what looked like a quiet residential neighborhood. They turned onto a wide street with grass and trees and bushes, with red grass and black trees and red bushes, until they came to a little house with a black picket fence and red walls and black shutters. The demons pushed Hansel to the door. "Go see him," they said. "See if you don't scream then." They turned away. "I hope we get a screamer next time," one said. "Yes," said the other. "That was freaky."